The galaxy had long forgotten the blue planet once called Earth. 30,000 years ago, the alien empire known as the Zirath had ruled it as their experiment world, a place to test the limits of a young species called humans. They had come with power, built grand bases and left, thinking they had broken the spirit of humanity forever. But when the empire collapsed in wars and silence, Earth's name faded into myth. Now, after ages of darkness, a small exploration fleet found the ancient coordinates again. The ship Ecliptor 9 glided through the cold vacuum of space, its metal skin reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, the crew of Zirath stared at the holographic image of Earth spinning slowly on the command table. To them, it was a forgotten story suddenly come alive again. Commander Vale Rin stood silent, his long fingers pressed against the glass screen. His eyes glowed faintly with emotion, part pride, part curiosity. After 30,000 years, he murmured, we returned to where it began. The crew whispered among themselves. For generations, the Zirath had believed humanity to be extinct. The idea that humans could still exist was almost a joke. But curiosity had driven them back. They expected ruins, maybe deserts covering the traces of their old empire. Instead, the first scans from orbit made their hearts race. There are power readings, said Science Officer Rova. Strong ones. But the designs are not ours. Velrin frowned. Not ours? Then who could... Before he could finish, the holographic screen flickered. The planet's surface glowed faintly with invisible grids of energy. The readings were beyond anything the Zirath could understand. Energy level exceeds Zirath technology, reported the ship's AI in a cold mechanical tone. Estimated output, 900% higher than Imperial core standards. The room went silent. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Velrin laughed softly, the sound dry and disbelieving. Impossible. Humans barely knew how to split atoms when we left. Perhaps scavengers or another empire rebuilt over our ruins. Still, something felt wrong. As they descended through the atmosphere, Earth didn't look like a dead world. It looked awake. Oceans shimmered with silver reflections. Cities of light-covered continents and clouds glowed faintly as if powered from beneath. The alien crew stared at the beauty below them, stunned and uneasy. Suddenly, their ship's communication panel flashed red. A voice echoed through the speakers, calm and firm. Unidentified vessel, you are entering restricted Terran space. Identify yourself or prepare for immediate neutralization. The bridge filled with silence. Terran. That word belonged to humans. Velrin's jaw tightened. Humans, he said slowly. They call themselves Terrans now. Rova's hands trembled on the control screen. Commander, they shouldn't even exist. The humans were primitive. They had no starships, no energy cores, nothing close to this power level. Velrin didn't answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the hologram of the Earth. Prepare visual link. Let's see what we're dealing with. The ship's AI opened the channel. The static cleared, revealing a symbol. 2 wings wrapped around a shining globe. Under it, words appeared in ancient human language, Terran Dominion. Then the voice returned, colder this time. This is the Terran Defense Command. Identify yourself. For the first time in his long life, Velrin felt something he hadn't felt since his youth. Fear. He tried to speak calmly. This is Commander Velrin of the Zirath Exploration Fleet. We seek access to our former base on this planet. We come in peace. The reply was instant. Your empire no longer exists. Your claim on Earth has been erased. Leave now. The bridge lights flickered. The crew exchanged worried glances. Commander, whispered Rova, they know who we are. How is that possible? Before anyone could react, every screen aboard Ecliptor 9 lit up with warning signals. Orbital weapons locked on their ship. Hundreds of small Terran drones surrounded them, each glowing with intense blue light. The sensors screamed under the readings. They are charging weapons, said the AI flatly. Velrin clenched his fists. Hold position. We're not leaving. This is Zirath territory. But then something unexpected happened. The drone stopped. A new signal took control of their systems. The comms flickered again, and this time a human face appeared. She looked young, perhaps in her 20s by human standards, with calm eyes and no sign of fear. Her uniform carried the same winged symbol, but her voice was soft, almost kind. Commander Velrin, she said. You've come a long way. But you shouldn't have returned. Velrin stared at her, frozen. You know my name? She nodded. We remember everything. even what you tried to erase. Behind her, the view of Earth shifted to show colossal human structures rising from the oceans, massive pillars connecting to orbit, glowing like living circuits. The human woman's eyes shone faintly, almost like stars. 30,000 years ago, she continued, you thought humanity was weak. You taught us what fear was. You left believing we would fade. She leaned closer to the camera, her voice colder now. You were wrong. Humanity learned. We rebuilt and then we erased you. The alien bridge was silent. The only sound came from the faint hum of the engines. Valrin couldn't move. He looked at the planet again, realizing the horrifying truth. The humans hadn't just survived, they had grown into something beyond his understanding. Commander, whispered Rova. What are your orders? Valrin didn't answer immediately. He watched as the human ship approached, sleek, shining, silent. It stopped right before them, and for a brief moment the two species stared at each other across the void. Finally, Valrin spoke quietly, almost to himself. We came to reclaim our legacy, he said, but it seems the legacy belongs to them now. The human woman's voice returned, calm and final. Welcome back to Earth, Commander, she said. We've been expecting you. A beam of light erupted from the human ship, wrapping around the Ecliptor 9. The alien crew felt a strange pull, not destructive, but overwhelming. Every system on their ship began to shut down. Not by force, but by command, Vale. Rin stared at his fading consoles as one thought echoed through his mind. Humanity had not just erased their presence from Earth. They had rewritten the story of power itself. The alien ship, Ecliptor 9, drifted in low orbit over the shining world below. Commander Valrin stared at the darkened control panels that refused to answer his touch. Every system had been silenced by the human's mysterious signal. The only thing left alive on the bridge was the uneasy breathing of his crew. Outside, the human vessel waited, sleek, silent, and patient, like a predator that already knew the outcome of the hunt. No one spoke for a long time. The air inside the bridge felt heavy. Science Officer Rova finally broke the silence. Commander, they could have destroyed us, but they didn't. Why keep us alive? Her voice trembled between fear and curiosity. Valrin turned slowly. Because they want us to see, he said. They want us to understand what they have become. He looked through the viewing glass where the blue curve of Earth shone like a star. Prepare a shuttle. We're going down. The crew hesitated but obeyed. The smaller craft detached from the silent mothership and descended through the clouds. The atmosphere was calm, almost welcoming. Yet the sensors screamed with invisible energy waves, dense magnetic fields and unknown codes pulsing beneath the air. When they passed through the clouds, they saw the surface clearly for the first time. Vast silver cities stretched across continents, their structures built from materials that reflected both light and shadow. Oceans glowed softly, guided by what looked like energy veins across the water. Human ships glided above the skyline, smooth, organic, and completely silent. None of them used engines the Zerath could recognize. Rova's eyes widened. They rebuilt the world. Every ruin is gone. Valrin watched the landscape, a strange mixture of awe and disbelief twisting inside him. No, he said softly. They didn't rebuild. They erased us. Every trace of the Zerath has been replaced. Their shuttle landed on a vast metal plain surrounded by glowing pylons. A small human welcoming craft was already waiting there. Its hull opened smoothly, and out stepped the same woman they had seen on the comms screen. She wore no armor, no visible weapon, yet the air around her felt powerful, as if reality itself bent slightly with her presence. Commander Valrin, she greeted. Welcome to the surface of Earth. I am Envoy Lyra of the Terran Dominion. Valrin stepped forward carefully. You know our names. You know our language. Lyra smiled faintly. We learned from the best, she said. From you. Her words stung deeper than any weapon. The Zerath had once prided themselves as teachers of lesser species. But this human stood with calm superiority, her gaze filled with quiet dominance. She gestured toward a structure nearby, a black tower rising high into the bright sky. Please, she said. Come. You should see what became of your legacy. Inside the tower, the walls were alive with light. Holographic panels shimmered to life as they passed, showing images of human history, their struggle after the Zerath's departure, their wars, their rise from ashes, and the stars they conquered. Rova whispered, They turned our technology into something new, something beyond us. Lyra looked over her shoulder. Your empire broke us, she said calmly. But pain became our teacher. When you left, we adapted. When your empire fell, we inherited your ruins across the stars. We studied them. Then we built better, empire that ever touched Earth. Every design, every record, every lie. She touched the sphere. The light flared, and suddenly, Violrin saw visions of the Zereth invasion. Their laboratories, their cruelty toward early humans. All of it stored, remembered, and watched. Lyra turned back to them. You erased our history once. Now we erased yours. Violrin's chest tightened. Why spare us? Because, Lyra said softly, we wanted the Zereth to witness what humanity became. You believed fear ruled civilizations. We found strength in defiance. You thought we would die in darkness. Instead, we became the light. The sphere dimmed and the floor opened to reveal a vast underground network glowing like veins of living fire. It stretched across continents. That is the Terran core, she explained. It links every human mind, every machine, every world we have touched. We do not need empires now. We are one. Rova stepped back, overwhelmed. This power? It's not possible. You're still biological. Lyra tilted her head. We were. But 30,000 years gave us time to evolve. We're still human, just complete. Violrin looked around the chamber. His heart filled with something he hadn't felt in centuries. Regret. He saw the reflection of his empire's arrogance in their eyes. The Zerath had ruled through fear, believing power meant control. The humans had learned power meant creation. Lyra's tone softened. You came searching for the past, Commander. But the past no longer exists. Earth is not yours to reclaim. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting gold light through the tower's glass. Human ships moved across the sky like silent guardians. Violrin finally bowed his head. You've surpassed us, he admitted quietly. The teacher became the student. Lyra gave a small nod. No, the student became human. As they were escorted back to their shuttle, the alien crew remained silent. When they looked at the glowing horizon, they realized Earth no longer feared them. The humans didn't need war or vengeance. They had already won by moving beyond both. Back aboard the Ecliptor 9, the systems reactivated automatically. The ship's AI whispered, external control released, power restored. Violrin looked once more at the blue planet below. They could have destroyed us, he said. Instead, they showed mercy. Rova turned toward him. What now, Commander? He watched Earth vanish behind the closing viewport. Now, he said, we return home and tell the galaxy the truth. Humanity has erased us not with weapons, but with time. As the engines flared and the ship rose into the endless black, a final message appeared on their console. 3 simple human words glowing in golden letters. Never return again. The alien ship Ecliptor 9 drifted away from Earth's orbit, silent and slow, as if afraid to disturb the space around it. The crew sat in shock, staring at the fading blue world behind them. For the Zerath, Earth had once been a place of dominance, a world they had claimed as their own. Now it stood as a monument to something greater, something that had grown beyond them. Commander Violrin sat in his chair, his eyes fixed on the planet through the viewport. He said nothing, but every alien on board could feel his thoughts, fear, pride, and disbelief woven together. Rova broke the silence. Commander, they could have destroyed us instantly. They didn't. Why? Violrin answered quietly. Because they already won, Rova. They don't see us as enemies anymore, only as relics. His voice carried a strange mix of awe and regret. They didn't erase us for revenge. They erased us to move forward. The navigation officer whispered, Commander, they're still watching us. Indeed, a human ship followed them from a distance, silent, glowing faintly, like a reminder. No weapons were locked, no aggression shown, but its presence spoke louder than any threat. The humans wanted the Zerath to know they were never unobserved. Hours passed. The crew tried to restore systems damaged during the human contact, but strange energy still lingered in the circuits. It felt alive, almost aware. Every time an engineer touched the controls, the screens flickered, displaying messages in the human language. Do not return. Violrin clenched his fists. They planted their warning into our systems. Rova studied the readings. It's more than a warning, Commander. The code is merging with our ship. They're learning how we think, how we build, even now. Before Valrin could respond, the ship's lights dimmed. A low hum filled the air as the view outside shifted. A pulse of light rippled across the darkness, a Terran beacon transmitting something powerful, more like a memory than a signal. The screens around the bridge flickered to life, showing ancient images. It was Earth, 30,000 years ago. The first Zirath landing. The human tribes running in fear, the burning skies, the laboratories where humans had been studied and modified. Then, as the images changed, they saw something new. Humans fighting back. Primitive, desperate, but unbroken. Every frame carried the same feeling. Defiance. The transmission ended with a single human word glowing across every screen. Remember. Rova's voice shook. They sent us their history. Their message is clear. They never forgot what we did. Valrin rose slowly from his seat. Prepare the archive logs. Every Zirath world must see this. The galaxy must know what humanity has become. But before he could issue another command, an alarm blared. The long-range sensors picked up a signal. Multiple energy readings emerging from hyperspace. Not Terran, different. Aggressive. The comms officer shouted, "Commander!" Contact confirmed. Trian warships approaching. 6 of them. The name struck dread through the crew. The Trian were scavengers who preyed on weakened fleets. They had destroyed many Zirath outposts in the past. Valrin's eyes narrowed. They followed us here. Moments later, the Trian fleet emerged, a group of dark angular ships, their weapons glowing red. A message came through. "Zirath vessel, surrender your data and power cores or be destroyed." The crew panicked. Their weapons were still offline. The ship was vulnerable. Valrin stared at the incoming fleet, then glanced at Earth still glowing faintly behind them. "Not here," he muttered. "Not near this planet." As the Trian ships locked weapons, something unexpected happened. A flash of white light burst across the void. Every sensor went blind for a moment. When vision returned, the Trian fleet was gone, completely disintegrated. "Not debris, not wreckage, nothing," Rova gasped. What just happened?" Then a calm voice filled their bridge. "Unidentified conflict detected in Terran sector," it said. "Unauthorized aggression neutralized." It was the human AI speaking directly into their comms without permission. Valrin froze. "They destroyed the entire fleet in seconds," the voice continued, polite but cold. "Zirath vessel, you are leaving our system. Do not attempt to return. Your technology will be disabled if you cross Terran borders again. This is your final warning." The channel cut out. Silence returned, heavy and final. Valrin sank back into his chair. "They protected us," he said softly. "Even after everything we did to them," Rova nodded slowly. "They didn't protect us, Commander. They protected their territory. We were just under their shadow." The commander's gaze drifted toward the fading light of Earth. He realized then that humanity no longer saw the Zirath as conquerors, but as part of history, a past mistake already corrected. "Commander," said Rova quietly, "do you think the galaxy knows what waits here?" He shook his head. "No, but they will. And when they come for Earth again, they'll understand what we've seen. The humans don't rule with weapons. They rule with silence." The Ecliptor 9 turned slowly, engines igniting for deep space. But even as it left the system, the crew could feel it. An unseen presence following them like the gaze of a silent god. Inside his cabin, Valrin began recording his report. 30,000 years after our dominion, we have found the truth, he spoke softly. The humans are no longer prey. They are the architects of the galaxy's future. To challenge them now would be to challenge the stars themselves. He paused, looking once more at the small blue light fading in the distance. "Let this record stand," he said. "Earth is no longer a planet. It's a warning." Outside, the stars swallowed the ship. Yet even across the endless night, the faint echo of a human signal followed them. Calm, steady, eternal, we remember. The Ecliptor 9 drifted deep into space, far from the blue glow of Earth. The crew was quiet, as though afraid that even their voices might reach the humans somehow. The ship's engines hummed softly, the only sound in the silence. Commander Valrin stood alone in the observation deck, watching the stars slip past. His reflection stared back at him from the glass, tired eyes filled with confusion. He had come to Earth expecting ruins and memories of their empire. Instead, he had seen gods in human form. Rova entered slowly, carrying a datapad. "Commander," she said softly, "I've been reviewing the logs from the human signal. Their network, the one they called the Terran Core, it's unlike anything in the galaxy. Every piece of information they ever recorded connects there. Every life, every ship. It's all one system." Valrin didn't turn around. "And what are they doing with it?" Rova hesitated. Learning, watching, evolving. The humans aren't just living anymore. They're growing together, as if the entire species has become a single mind. Valrin finally turned, his voice low. "Then they are no longer just human." The two stood in silence. Beyond the glass, a faint shimmer appeared, an energy wave spreading through the void like a heartbeat. The sensors detected it immediately. "Signal detected," the AI reported. "Origin, Sol system. Frequency unknown," Rova frowned. "They're sending something again." The holographic display flickered to life. Lines of symbols filled the air, patterns not from any Zerath language. They looked like stars rearranging themselves into meaning. Slowly the shapes formed an image. It was Earth again, glowing brighter than before. And then, within that light, countless human faces appeared, fading in and out, all looking straight at them. "They see us," Rova whispered. The ship's AI added coldly, "Incoming transmission, no known encryption. Message reads, 'We are not your past. We are your future.'" Valrin clenched his jaw. "They're reminding us again of who holds the higher ground." Rova studied the signal further. "Commander, the energy wave is spreading across nearby systems. Every Zerath beacon within 10 light-years just went silent. It's as if they erased our presence from their map." Valrin looked down at his trembling hands. "They're not just protecting Earth, they're rewriting space itself." Suddenly the ship shook. Warning lights flared red. "Spatial distortion detected," shouted the pilot. "Something's forming in front of us." Out of the darkness, a massive construct appeared, black, angular, and glowing with faint golden veins. It wasn't a ship. It was something larger. A Terran relay gate. Rova gasped. "They followed us this far?" A calm voice echoed across the comms. "Commander Valrin of the Zerath Empire, your vessel is trespassing within the protected sphere of human space. Further movement will result in disassembly." Valrin gritted his teeth. "You would destroy us so far from your home?" The voice replied gently. "There is no far anymore. Humanity is everywhere." The Zerath crew watched in disbelief as the massive Terran structure shifted, folding space around it. Dozens of human ships emerged from the void, surrounding them without sound or weapon fire. The stars themselves seemed to bend under their presence. Rova's voice cracked. "Commander, these readings. Each ship generates its own gravity field. They're not using engines, they're bending physics." Valrin stared at the view screen. He could see the same insignia as before, 2 wings around a globe, glowing faintly. "Humanity's mark. So this is what they became," he said quietly. "Guardians of creation." The human voice spoke again, calm and certain. "We did not come to destroy you, but you will carry our message back to your people. The age of conquest is over. The galaxy belongs to none. We have seen what war makes of species, and we choose another path." Valrin looked up, eyes filled with both respect and sorrow. "And what path is that?" "The path of memory," the voice said. "We remember what you did, and we remember what we were. You made us monsters once. Now we remember so we never become that again." The transmission ended, and the Terran fleet vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. The stars returned to their stillness. The bridge was silent. No one spoke. Rova finally whispered, "Commander, they could shape the galaxy with that power. Yet they speak of peace. Do you believe them?" Valrin stared at the empty void. "Yes," he said softly. "And that is what makes them terrifying." The crew began to restore navigation, shaken but alive. As the ship turned toward home, the logs continued to fill with faint echoes of the Terran signal. It wasn't threatening anymore, just steady, like a heartbeat in the dark. Valrin sat alone in his quarters, recording his report for the Empire. "We sought to rediscover an old conquest," he said. "Instead, we found gods born of our own cruelty. Humanity no longer fights for survival. They shape existence itself. They are not to be challenged." not to be studied, only to be remembered. He paused, glancing at the stars one last time. The humans have become the silence between galaxies, the power that watches without hatred. To disturb them would be to disturb the balance of the universe itself. The record ended. Valrin closed his eyes and whispered into the darkness. "Forgive us, children of Earth, we thought you were weak, far away." In the cold distance of space, a faint golden light pulsed once, like an answer. The Ecliptor 9 crossed the last edge of Terran space, engines trembling as if relieved to leave that invisible field of human power. Yet even as the stars opened before them, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that something still followed. It wasn't a ship or a signal, just a quiet awareness like unseen eyes watching from the dark. Commander Valrin sat in silence at the bridge, his gaze distant. He had seen many wars, crushed countless worlds, but nothing had ever unsettled him like the humans' calm warning. Rova stood beside him, clutching a tablet of trembling data. "Commander," she said, "I analyzed the Terran signal we intercepted before the fleet vanished. It's still inside our systems. It's rewriting our archives." Valrin turned sharply. "What do you mean rewriting?" "It's like their message isn't just a transmission, it's alive. It's merging with our historical data, replacing records of the old empire with fragments of their own." She hesitated. "They're editing our memory, Commander." The bridge fell quiet. The Zareth prided themselves on their record-keeping. History was everything, their proof of glory, of superiority. And now even that was being erased, Valrin whispered. "They took our planet. They took our past. Now they take the truth itself." Rova met his eyes. "Maybe they're not taking it. Maybe they're correcting it." Before he could answer, the ship's lights dimmed again. The AI's monotone voice echoed through the air. "Incoming transmission. Origin unknown." The holographic projector flickered to life. This time it wasn't a human fleet. It was a single image, a massive ring structure floating in deep space. Thousands of thin metallic arcs surrounded a glowing center, forming what looked like a doorway. Rova scanned it quickly. It's human design, but there's no record of it in the data they showed us. Valrin stared at the display. "A gate?" "Not exactly," Rova said. "It's broadcasting coordinates." "An invitation," the commander frowned. "To where?" The AI answered before anyone could. "Destination, Sol Fringe. Human-built observation post. Estimated purpose, communication." Rova turned pale. "They're calling us back?" Valrin's voice hardened. "No, they're testing us. They want to see if we'll obey." He sat for a long moment, torn between curiosity and fear. Every instinct told him to leave, but another part, the ancient explorer within him, couldn't resist. "Set course," he ordered finally. "Let's see what they want to show us." The crew obeyed without question. The Ecliptor 9 accelerated toward the shimmering coordinates. As they neared the gate, strange patterns of light moved across its surface, forming symbols that pulsed like heartbeat rhythms. "Energy levels rising," Rova reported. "Unknown composition. It's not plasma, not radiation, something different." Before they could analyze further, the ship was caught in a gravitational surge. The stars stretched into streaks of light, and in a blink they were elsewhere. When the distortion cleared, the bridge crew gasped. Before them floated a structure larger than any moon they had ever seen. An enormous station carved from silver and glass, orbiting a dying red star. Its design was beautiful and alien, yet undeniably human. Towers and domes glimmered with soft blue lights, forming the pattern of a giant eye. "Commander," Rova said, "the signal originates from there." As they approached, a section of the structure opened, revealing a docking port. The message appeared on their screen again. "Enter, do not fear." Valrin felt his chest tighten. They knew we would come. The shuttle descended into the massive docking bay, surrounded by silence. No guards, no drones, no sound, only glowing symbols running along the walls. When the airlock opened, a wave of warmth hit them, along with faint whispers echoing in languages they couldn't understand. Rova stepped out first, her voice trembling. "It feels alive." They followed a narrow corridor that led into a wide chamber. At its center floated a column of light, flickering like a pulse. As they drew closer, the column shifted, forming the image of a human woman, different from Lyra, yet familiar in presence. "Commander Valrin," she said gently. "You are not here by mistake." Valrin stepped forward. You've taken our worlds, our records, our pride. Why bring us here? The projection smiled softly. Because you need to understand why. The lights around the chamber dimmed. Images filled the space, galaxies spinning, species rising and falling. The endless wars fought for power. You once believed control brought peace, she said. But peace only comes when control is gone. You ruled by fear, and fear dies with time. The image changed again, showing humans spreading across the stars, uniting through light and knowledge instead of weapons. When you left Earth, you left a wound. We healed it not by destroying, but by remembering. Every scar, every failure, every pain. It became our teacher. You erased us once. Now we preserve everything, even you. Rova's eyes filled with tears. You mean, you remember the Zerath? Yes, the human said. Your name will not vanish. We will keep your story as we keep our own. Proof of what creation and cruelty can both build. Velrin's voice broke. Then why strip us of our records? Why silence our systems? The image flickered, her eyes gentle. Because truth must begin again. You built history on domination. We built ours on survival. Now you must learn to remember without chains. The light began to fade, and her final words echoed through the hall. Go home, Velrin. Tell your people humanity no longer hates them. But warn them, never again shall the stars be ruled by cruelty. The chamber dimmed. Silence returned. Rova touched the commander's shoulder. They're giving us a chance, sir. He nodded slowly. A chance to remember differently. Back aboard the Ecliptor 9, the ship's systems came alive again. Clean, repaired, untouched by corruption. But the human message remained glowing faintly on the console. History is not erased. It is reborn. As the ship turned away, Velrin felt something change within him. For the first time in thousands of years, he felt small and peaceful. The humans had not punished them. They had shown them what power truly meant. Set course for home, he said quietly. The galaxy must hear what we've seen. And as the Ecliptor 9 slipped into the dark between stars, a final Terran whisper followed through the static. The future remembers. The Ecliptor 9 sailed through deep space, its silver hull reflecting the faint glow of distant suns. The crew worked in silence, haunted not by fear but by awe. They had entered Terran space as conquerors rediscovering their old dominion, and left as witnesses to a civilization that had risen beyond their reach. Commander Velrin stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, staring into the starfield. For the first time in his long life, he didn't know what victory or defeat meant anymore. Rova broke the silence. Commander, she said softly, we've reached the neutral zones. Terran signals stop here. We're finally outside their range. Velrin nodded but didn't turn. Outside their range? Or simply where they allow us to believe we are? The crew exchanged uncertain glances. The idea that humans could still be watching, still aware of their every move, sent a chill through the room. Have you decoded all of their transmissions? He asked. Rova held her data tablet tightly. Not all. The deeper signals. They're layered, like memory upon memory. I think some of them aren't messages. They're impressions, thoughts. She hesitated, then added, they might not communicate the way we do anymore. Velrin turned at last, his eyes dark and tired. You mean they've evolved beyond words? She nodded. Yes, Commander. Maybe beyond needing them. The ship drifted onward. Around them, the void was quiet, but it didn't feel empty. There was something in the air, something alive. Every now and then, a soft flicker of golden light would appear at the edge of the viewports. Faint, distant, then gone. They left markers, said Rova. Traces of energy along the route. Almost like guiding lights, Velrin frowned. Why guide us? They've already shown their superiority. Maybe it's not for us, Rova said. Maybe they're guiding anyone who comes this way to warn them or to teach them. The commander looked at the golden lights fading behind them. Then humanity has become the galaxy's conscience, he murmured. Hours passed into cycles, and the Ecliptor 9 approached the border of Zerath space. The navigation systems buzzed to life as familiar stars came into view, cold, distant suns that once marked the heart of their empire. But something was wrong. The scanners showed anomalies everywhere. Commander, said the helmsman, his voice uneasy, there's interference across the network. Our beacons are missing. The central archives. They're gone. Valrin stepped forward sharply. Gone how? I don't know. Every Zerath relay within the sector is offline. It's as if they never existed. Rova's eyes widened. Commander, it's the same pattern, the same energy trace we saw on Earth. The human signal. It reached here. The bridge filled with alarmed voices. How could that be? The humans had said they wouldn't follow, that they only sought peace. Yet somehow their presence now echoed across Zerath space. Valrin closed his eyes. No, this isn't attack. This is correction. He activated the main holo display. The image of their capital world appeared, a once radiant sphere of dark silver oceans and endless cities. But now parts of it shimmered strangely. The human energy field, faint but growing, rippled across the surface. Rova whispered, "They're rewriting even the worlds they never touched." The commander's voice was calm. They said history would be reborn. Perhaps this is what they meant. Suddenly, the ship's AI interrupted. Incoming transmission, source unknown. The hologram flickered to life, revealing a figure bathed in light. It wasn't Lyra this time. It wasn't anyone they recognized. The figure was tall, featureless, surrounded by shifting patterns that formed and dissolved like living light. Commander Valrin, it said in a calm, unified voice. You carry the message. But you do not yet understand it. Rova took a step back. Who are you? The figure tilted its head slightly. We are the echo of humanity. The voice beyond the flesh. You saw our world, but not our truth. Valrin's voice was steady but low. Your truth destroyed our history. The light figure moved closer, its tone almost kind. Your history was built on chains. We did not destroy it. We freed it. Your past will live again without the lies that blinded you. The commander stared into the light. You could have crushed us. Yet you didn't. Why? Because mercy, the voice said, is the final strength of the evolved. The figure's shape began to dissolve into starlight. Before fading completely, it added, do not return to conquest. Do not rebuild what was meant to die. The galaxy will change and you may still have a place in it if you choose to learn. And then it was gone. The bridge fell into deep silence. No one spoke for a long time. Rova finally said, Commander, what do we do now? The council will demand answers. Valrin turned away from the console. Then we'll give them truth. Not orders, not glory, just truth. He looked out at the dying capital world on the display. Tell them humanity is no longer our enemy. They are our mirror. The ship's engines hummed softly as they began the slow journey home. The stars around them seemed brighter now, as if watching. Days later, the Ecliptor 9 arrived at the Zerath home system. But instead of fleets waiting, they found quiet. The once crowded space docks were abandoned, the planetary defenses cold. Only one message repeated through the static of the comm channels, recorded by another returning fleet. Valrin played it aloud. The voice was old, tired, and filled with wonder. To any who hear this, it said, the humans have returned to the galaxy, but not as conquerors. They have become something eternal. Their presence flows through stars and silence. And everywhere their signal touches, war ends. Not by force, but by memory. The recording ended. Rova looked at her commander. They've changed everything, haven't they? Valrin nodded slowly. Yes, and one day we may thank them for it. He walked to the viewport, his reflection merging with the distant stars. They erased our arrogance, Rova, but they left us something greater. What's that? She asked quietly. Hope, he said simply, and a warning written across the universe. Never again underestimate humanity. As the Ecliptor 9 descended toward their quiet world, the sky above shimmered faintly with a trace of golden light. One last whisper from the humans echoing through eternity. We remember. We forgive. But we are watching. The Ecliptor 9 glided silently through the void. The once brilliant Zerath flagship now felt hollow, its crew ghosts haunted by revelation. Commander Valrin stood at the central viewport, his reflection caught between stars. Behind him, the faint hum of the ship's core was the only sound. He had returned from Terran space, a changed being. No longer the proud conqueror who left, but a witness to something larger than empire. Rova entered quietly, carrying a glowing data tablet. Commander, our arrival report has been transmitted to the High Council, she said. They've summoned you to explain what happened. Valrin didn't answer. His gaze remained on the stars. They won't understand, Rova. They've lived too long believing we're the peak of creation. To tell them what we saw, that humanity now shapes the galaxy's laws, we'll break them. She hesitated. Then what will you tell them? The truth, he said finally. Even if it ends us. The ship descended into orbit over the Zerath homeworld. Below, endless metallic cities gleamed under a dim sun, relics of a civilization that had forgotten humility. Docking procedures engaged automatically. When the airlock opened, hundreds of officers awaited him, their silver uniforms shining. The High Council stood at the far end of the hall, old, towering figures whose eyes burned with suspicion. Commander Vial Rin, one of them boomed. You vanished into forbidden coordinates. You returned with half your fleet and stories of ghosts. Explain yourself. Vial Rin stepped forward slowly. We went to reclaim our heritage. What we found was beyond comprehension. He described Earth, its glowing cities, its silent power, the human fleets that could bend physics itself. He spoke of Lyra and the golden message we remember. We forgive, but we are watching. The hall grew restless. The counselors exchanged glances filled with disbelief and anger. Impossible, one spat. Primitive creatures do not become gods. Vaelrin's voice hardened. They were primitive because we enslaved them. Now they've evolved because we left them. They are not gods, and they are what we pretended to be. The chamber erupted in whispers. Another counselor leaned forward, her eyes sharp. You claim they can rewrite space, silence our archives. Then why haven't they destroyed us? Because, Vaelrin said softly, they've outgrown destruction. Mercy has replaced conquest. Laughter rippled through the hall, bitter, nervous. Mercy? One scoffed. That is weakness. Vaelrin met their gaze coldly. It is strength. You've built an empire on fear. Humanity built theirs on memory, and memory endures when empires fall. Rova stepped forward beside him, holding up the tablet. We brought proof. Our data logs, our transmissions, all bear their signature. They didn't erase us completely. They left us this. The lights dimmed as she activated the projection. The chamber filled with golden light. The human message replayed, calm, powerful, endless, history is not erased. It is reborn. For a long moment no one spoke. Then the eldest counselor rose. His voice trembled, but not with anger, with realization. If what you say is true, the age of the Zerath is over. Vaelrin bowed his head. No, the age of arrogance is over. The Zerath can still endure home, but only if we learn. That night, as he walked alone through the silent corridors of the palace, he felt something stir in the air, a faint vibration like distant whispers carried by static. He stopped and turned toward the sky. The stars seemed to flicker in patterns, golden pulses, faint but deliberate. Rova's voice came through his comm. Commander, you need to see this. The observatories are picking up transmissions from beyond our borders. Every major world is receiving the same signal. He hurried to the command deck. The room was filled with officers staring at the main display. Across every channel, every frequency, one identical transmission repeated. It was the human message again. But this time, it wasn't directed only at the Zerath. It was being broadcast across the entire galaxy. The AI translated it aloud. To all who reach for power, remember the cost of forgetting. To all who build on conquest, know that creation is stronger. The galaxy no longer belongs to empires. It belongs to those who remember. Silence followed. The counselors looked terrified. Some fled the room. Others simply stared at the floor, unable to comprehend the scope of what they'd heard. Rova turned to Vaelrin. They're teaching everyone, she said quietly. They're rewriting the future. He nodded slowly. Then maybe the future has a chance. Outside, the stars began to shimmer again, one by one, until the sky above the Zerath homeworld glowed with threads of golden light stretching across constellations. It wasn't an invasion. It was a reminder. The humans had woven their legacy into the galaxy itself. For the first time in centuries, Vaelrin smiled. So this is what it feels like, he whispered, to live in someone else's story. Later that night, he recorded his final log. To whoever finds this, he said, his voice steady and clear, Remember that we once believed ourselves immortal. We thought strength came from domination, but true strength is memory, the courage to remember what we were and to become something better. The humans taught us that. May we never forget it. As he finished speaking, the transmission beacon flared. The golden light outside reached into the clouds, wrapping the world in a gentle glow. And in that light, faint and eternal, a single message echoed across the stars once more. We remember, we forgive, we guide,